Hello, Miami Valley. This is Community Conversations from WCSU FM 88.9 Jazzy. I'm Micah Pollard, your host for this discourse. Today's guest is truly an inspiration. The multi-talented Cincinnati songstress and sensual rights activist, Cleöcrt.
Hello.
How you doing today, Cleöcrt?
I'm well. It's a beautiful day outside. Beautiful day inside. I'm good.
Yeah,
How are
yeah.
you?
I mean, the cold, I'm not great with it, even though I'm a Capricorn.
Hmm.
But yeah, for the most part, I'm doing okay.
Okay.
And thank you for coming out to come talk to us. And, because I know you're a full-time artist and scheduling can be hectic. So we greatly appreciate you taking the time to come talk to us.
I'm thankful I was able to, honestly.
Okay. So let's go ahead and get into it. So from my understanding, you grew up in a household that was not necessarily, or would you call it multi-faith, but your parents practiced different forms of spirituality.
Actually, my household was not multi-faith. It was Christianity primarily through and through. What it was on one side there was a background of one thing, and the other side had a background of another thing, but they agreed to meet in the middle, which I guess for them was Christianity, something they both could like agree to. So yeah. Yes.
Okay. Can you speak a little bit more about what those differences were? Because I know there may have been some background in Kemetism and Hoodooism and things of that nature.
So my dad, I think that while he had a background of being more like, I guess, like African traditionalism, he still found himself in Christianity. My mother's side, specifically my mom and my, like, all the way up to my great grandmother, were deeply Christian, because when my great grandmother came up to Cincinnati, her culture was kind of washed away. They proclaimed it as evil, and she tried to, in terms, fit in with, I'm gonna say, the northern folk that she was around, and that for them was like looking like a certain type of Christian. And that kind of trickled down throughout my grandma, my mother, and then down to me. While my dad's side, of course, like, dabbled in Christianity. That's like a thing for a lot of black people in general, is some type of Christian background. Um, he still had like other languages as far as his viewpoint on spirituality. I say the word languages because the reason my parents were able to meet in that middle is because I think my dad mainly was aware that these were just different languages to reach a common goal, which was God. So, yeah.
So I'm glad you kind of touched on the fact that there was a common ground between them, because I was going to ask, like, with the things that they disagreed with, what was that experience like? Or were you exposed to stuff like that?
You know, my mom and dad, I think, did it, like, put up a good front of not showcasing the disagreements. And kind of what my mama said goes. So if my mom was like, this is what it is, this is what it is. But we didn't really see them have too many disagreements. I do know that watching them, you could pick up where there was a disconnect, though. The way that my dad prayed was vastly different from how my mother prayed. Though I didn't have the language at the time to differentiate the difference, or tell the difference between how my dad was praying or what his intentions were behind that. Same with my mom. I just looked at it as they're both praying, and I'm assuming that it's going to the same God and it's the same faith, and the language isn't there at the time. But as far as witnessing or them making it known that they were having differences as far as faith goes, we weren't privy to that. They did a good job at keeping an idea of unison together. So yeah.
Okay.
I think once I started picking up on things, because I'm a curious cat, and I was just like watching my dad. I'm a daddy's girl, so I'm like watching the way he goes about things, and I'm like, that's not what my mom would have done. And I wonder why. I began to ask, like, why? I wonder why you're doing it like this. And I would ask him, and he would frankly just answer, well, I believe this, that, and the other. I'm like, that's not what mom believes, though. And it just like birthed this deeper curiosity of why my dad is moving in this way. And once he saw that I was interested and had questions for him in those regards, he began sharing a lot more with me and bringing me around different things and exposing me to things that my mother might not have. And same thing with my mom's side. I once I started like hanging around my great grandmother more and more, I would be able to like tell like the same things that my dad is doing, you're doing it, but the language is different. Like you're labeling it this,
Mm.
my dad is doing the same thing and labeling it that. And I think that's when like that connect hit for me. And I'm like, these are the same thing. Y'all just speak different languages. So, but to go back to your original question, they did a good job at not showing us the differences until you like really just start paying attention to it.
Mm. So would you say that it was kind of more so your relationship with your dad that kind of drew you to that side, or was it more so there were specific practices or things within the language that you believe resonated with you?
I'm gonna say yes to both. I think
Okay.
that there were things that I was catching on to that felt right, familiar even, and
Mm.
it felt familiar to yeah, you know about that. It felt familiar to a degree of I know, versus I've been taught and I believe. It was like I don't have to question this. I know that this is like right for me at least. This feels not just good because it wasn't like this feels good and it feels easy, so I'm gonna go with this route. It felt good and hard, like harsh truth. Like I was like, this is confusing. I'm confounded and I'm intrigued, but it feels right all in the same breath. Rather than me being a devoted Christian like my mom is, it was like this doesn't. I have too many questions, and I love being inquisitive.
Mm.
I love having questions, but my questions weren't getting answered the way I needed them, and that was a problem for me. And that didn't feel good, especially the responses I was getting from various people, not necessarily my mom, but just people in the Christian community. It's like,
Right.
y'all don't even have the answers. And that's okay. I don't have the answers either, which is why I'm asking, but there has to be more, and this doesn't feel right to me. So I think leading with my own spirit versus seeing my dad, because I am a daddy's girl, like seeing him and just blindly following, I still would ask him questions and things, but just going off of what felt right for me, like this just feels familiar.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm. Like that feeling of familiarity, I think is really important because with me, whenever I was introduced to concepts of like Buddhism and traditions within the East, and the concept of chi or ki, I know there's differing pronunciations on that, but things like that and reincarnation were things that really resonated with me as well, like as a child. But I was never really shown images of people who looked like me who believed in those things. So there was almost this inner conflict of whether or not I should believe those things or not, because everyone around me, who looked like me was predominantly Christian. So it wasn't until like years and years later where my mother gifted me a ancestry kit, and I found out that I was predominantly Nigerian, specifically Igbo, and I was looking into the Igbo culture, and they believe, or their belief system is called Udanani, and within that belief system, they have this concept of Ashe, which is
right.
very similar to Chi,
Mm-hmm.
and I was like, so this is the very similar same concept, and they also believe in reincarnation.
Mm-hmm.
These same things that resonated with me as a child, but I didn't have the language
The language.
to associate with it. And I think it's really a blessing that you were able to find that resonance at such a young age. Whereas for me, I didn't find these things out until, like my mid to late 30s.
Mm-hmm.
So can you talk about your first moments of when you realized what you wanted your spiritual practices to be, and like how that grew into like a daily routine?
I think that when I had that realization, I was probably 11 years old, but it wasn't that realization in me like trying to communicate that wasn't appreciated with certain people that I looked up to. So it was kind of like it became like shut in. But so I had that realization when I was 11. I think that I actually gained the confidence to enact on the things that I was thinking or feeling when I turned like 20. Yeah, to where it was like I was already practicing them, but I started being the intent changed dramatically. It was like
Mm-hmm.
I was practicing them throughout my early years, like my teenage years, and they didn't have names. It was just something that felt right, and I'm just doing this out of I want to do it. Versus when I had turned 20, it was like, no, why am I doing this? That question, why? I'm always asking why. So I'm like, why am I doing this? And what is the real significance for me? And then beyond that, what is the significance for my siblings or my dad even? Because at this point, by the time I'm 20, I had already, my dad had already transitioned.
Mm-hmm.
Same as my little brother. And both of those had like tremendous effect on me just in life and spiritually. And so at that point, I started thinking beyond myself, like, what kind of effect does this have on me and my loved ones, and then so on and so forth. Um, and I started trying to make sense of it all. And fortunately, I did have people in my life that were already around that same topic. They were already on that. So I had people to kind of consult in, but a lot of it was doing internal work and figuring it out. Like it didn't matter how many people I had around me to affirm it. It was still like answers I had to ask myself.
Absolutely.
So yeah, I think when I was about 20-ish, I'm still 20-ish really, but a couple years ago is when I like started to really move with intent in it. And like even just knowing that I was moving intentional in that moment, like thinking in the past when that time was where I was mentally, that caused like a dramatic shift in how I did everything else.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And it all like started to make one jumbo sense. Like it all just started to make a lot of sense. Like, oh, okay, I'm doing this. I'm waking up. Like my mom used to have us wake up at 4 or 5 o'clock and pray. I still do that. It changed the way it looks, but now it looks exactly the same. Like I'm finding this connect between the languages and those habits that I once had, and I'm assigning the attention to it, and that's just like been so powerful.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So are you saying that you say the same prayers that your mom said for you, or?
Well, not necessarily. I do. I mean, I still do my Psalms 91. We love that. I'm just saying like the way that it looks. Like, my mom used to, they call it Terry,
Mm-hmm.
pray without ceasing. She would have us wake up at 4 or 5 o'clock and we would get on our knees and pray. I'm sure you've seen that.
Mm-hmm.
Now, actually, in the past, I thought it was disrespectful to approach God without getting on your knees. Submission.
Mm-hmm.
Now I be cussing while I'm praying. I'm walking around cleaning and praying. I mean, my mom did that too, but it just looks like, keep in mind I said it looks different, but it actually looks just the same too. Like the searching for the words, it literally, I can see the differences in what I'm doing versus what my mom was doing, but in the same breath, it's like we're literally doing the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
I find beauty in that, actually. Quite enjoyable for me when I think about it. But yeah, like now when I'm praying, though I wake up at 4 or 5, I might not get on my knees and do it. Some days I do. Other days I'm like, I'm just quiet. And I can feel that I'm praying.
Okay.
Somebody else might call that meditation. And it is. But different languages is praying.
Definitely a form of it.
Yeah.
Because they say that like action, the difference between like stillness meditation and action meditation is stillness is you're wanting to like focus on the body. You don't want to move around too much. You just really want to be focusing on not necessarily like your thoughts, but being aware of your thoughts and not being attached to them. And then action meditation, as I understand it, is you have a particular task and you just kind of focus on that task. So whether it be through the arts, whether it be through doing chores or something to that effect, something that yields a positive result, but just allows you to be present and in the moment. So yeah, like very much like you said, the language of it just kind of changes.
Yeah.
So I'm glad you brought up the climate of having to be on your knees at first in order to pray. But now that you've kind of morphed this practice to make it your own, I'm curious as to, within your practice, is there kind of a if I don't do this, then there's some kind of consequence if I don't do it.
There was at first. The more that I like stick with it, the more that evolves into something that honestly I'm still like finding words for it. I think originally there was this idea of God being angry with you. That was when I was much younger, because that's what's kind of been taught in various forms of religion, is like the consequence of hell or the consequence of you upsetting God.
Yep.
The older I get, or as time went on, that concept changed from angering God to karma, which was like one and the same. Like, I didn't want to upset God, and He sends karma to get me, or I didn't do right by God in this moment, and it shows up here. So that became a thing, and then later on, it keeps evolving. And sometimes with that evolution, I revisit things like, no, I'm gonna anger God. Like, so it's like it's not a linear thing. I sometimes circle back, but right now where I'm at, actually, the consequence is not feeling at ease with myself, and that's been my biggest thing. Like, I really follow that phrase, or not phrase, but the saying, "Do nothing without intention." I love that because I always try to set my intention like, okay, if I do this, what am I gaining, or what is there to not gain, or why am I doing it, and am I okay with what might come back? Because I do believe in laws of nature, of things have to unfold the way they have to unfold, So I'm like thinking like, am I okay with this action leading to this or that? And I tell myself like, yeah, I am okay with that, or no, I don't want that at all. So that's right now for me, that's the consequence of my actions, or like that's the fear, not fear, but yeah, that would be the consequence of, as in like, am I going to be content with this, or is this going to like offset me spiritually or even physically? Like, what do I have to gain or lose from this? And it sounds very self-centered, but like when I do something, I think about other people, of course, but it's more so like I'm thinking about me first. Like, okay, well, what how will this affect me? I'm not thinking about the man in the sky. I'm thinking about my inner God. Like, is this going to offset me spiritually? Am I going to become spiritually ill for a time being? Like, what's the punishment? And punishment not in a negative connotation, because sometimes punishment, like,
absolutely,
we look at punishment as like the negative thing, like getting in trouble. But I kind of like associate punishment the same way I like associate the word repercussion or consequence, and not in a negative sense, but just like what comes back.
Absolutely.
Was it as good or bad? So, yeah.
However it unfolds naturally.
However it unfolds, and I don't think, like, for example, if I cross the street not looking, because that's an action, and somebody, roll over my foot, that's a punishment. That's my consequence. But same thing as if I got to cross the street safely, that's still the consequence, but not in a negative term, but like that's how it unfolds. And yeah.
Okay. And I'm really glad that you brought up the laws of nature, because you've said this on your live before, and I was like, we need to kind of like circle back on that. So
it's a lot of laws.
So how do you incorporate nature into your spiritual practices?
I mean, can you do spiritual practices without nature?
I feel like there are a lot of people who make that separation, because, I would say in certain faiths, they would consider that like paganism, right? So
You're right.
I think people or some people can be veered away from that. So how do you incorporate that into your practices?
I just want to say that blows my mind. It does. I know that there are several different perspectives. Ooh. But not like, for me, it's so unnatural to not incorporate
no pun
nature.
intended.
A little bit. But it's very unnatural to not even incorporate nature. I look at myself as if I am, not as if I know that I'm a part of that being nature. How do I incorporate nature? Honestly, I think that is such a layered question, because I can't even imagine me not like incorporating it into what I do, seeing that I feel as though I am a part of it, so it's automatically like accounted for with every step I take.
Mm.
But I will tell you intentional things I do to make sure that I am giving reverence to nature. I'm sure you know I go to the woods quite often.
Oh, absolutely.
I get hurt out there. I'll be climbing them trees, falling and scraping myself up sometimes.
And you never get lost.
Not really. No, I do. Sometimes I'm out there for way longer than intended, just because I am lost actually. But I find joy in that once I get unlost. You know? Sometimes I be out there like,
You can
"Oh,
look
shit."
back and laugh, right?
Yeah,
But in the
like,
moment.
I think that it's a beautiful process. Like I'm surrendering to, yeah, I'm surrendering to nature, and that's like,
We need to let that moment like really hit, because when we talk about the feeling of surrendering, I don't think you can have much more of a like profound, encompassing sense of that other than, you know, inadvertently maybe getting lost in the woods.
yeah, getting lost at sea, getting like, you know, like how you feel when you're underwater, just submerged.
Mm-hmm.
I love the idea of submitting to nature. It's even like when I head into the woods, I make up in my mind, like, you know, the animals love me. But if I run into an animal that's not having a good day, I'm at the mercy of that animal. And I'm content with that.
Mm.
And I tell because she's like, don't go in the woods by yourself. Bring somebody. I'm like, it's okay. It's okay. I'm bringing my offering. I have a fruit bowl. We're going to eat together. If they decide that I'm the meal, hey. I mean, who am I to argue? Because in my heart, this is God. And I don't view myself above the animals or the plants or anything. I look at us as one organism working together. And if God decides, nature decides that, you know, I have to serve my purpose right then and there, then that's what it is. And getting back to getting lost, there are times when I go out into the woods early in the morning. Like, I get up and I go out there, and that is my form of praying for the day. I'm bringing, like, I've prepared a fruit bowl, and I even, like, have made some meat for the, you know, the animals that do eat meat. And I'm bringing that out to them. And in my heart, that's me, like, serving, which is my prayer. And I would go out there, like, 6 o'clock in the morning, still dark. And I'm thinking of a time specifically, I didn't come out the woods until like 8 p.m. And my phone was blowing up. I didn't have my phone on me, but it was in the car. And when I got back to the car because I got lost, oh my God, everybody was angry. They were like, you cannot be doing that. But I'm like, I'm just so thankful that I'm back at the car. But also I'm thankful that I had that moment to get lost because, one, I met 3 animals that helped me find my way out. I talk to the trees. I'm a tree hugger and a tree kisser. And it's almost indescribable, but it feels amazing to be out there, kind of like surrounded, and to be disconnected from the things that we like are so connected to in our day to day. So I get out there and I'm, you know, with intention. I'm out to defeat animals, but I might wander too far. But I think that's very intentional, even if I'm not consciously thinking of it. I'm out there. And I have to tell myself, like, in this moment, while I am in control, I'm not in control, and I'm okay with that. I'm okay with submitting and being at the mercy of these trees, being at the mercy of the animals that are watching me, being at the mercy of the skies. If it decides to start pouring down raining and lightning starts striking and I get hit, to some, this might sound pessimistic. I don't imagine myself, like, dying or anything like that, but I'm content with, when I'm out there, I'm content with how nature is going to operate. I just allow myself to move with it. And yeah, it's an indescribable feeling. I kind of get like goosebumps, like this like kind of ecstasy thinking about it. Like it feels good.
Have you ever had a moment where you came across an animal that was unfriendly?
Animals love me. Let me say that. But no, the animals, they rock with me. I have not met an unkind animal. I'm trying to think. Because I might have run into an animal that I might have upset. I might have, you know, I get the cuteness overload thing. Like, they be cute. I be wanting to touch.
It's so fluffy.
It's so fluffy. I try to respect it when I'm out there. Like, I try to respect nature when I'm out there, but they be so cute. Like, it was a raccoon that I ran into, and, you know, we got the stigma about raccoons, but I'm like, You're cute.
Well, I mean, that
And I
might low
want
key be
you.
changing because
I've heard.
there was like a headline that I saw that was saying that raccoons may be becoming inadvertently domesticated.
Hmm.
So,
Who knows? I don't know. I hope they don't though. Actually, I quite enjoy the idea of them being right where they belong, which is in outside in the trees and stuff.
close but not too close.
And not out of fear. I
Mm.
just I don't like the idea of this might be trauma. I don't like the idea of enslaving a race.
Mm.
And people I think have such little regard for animals that they don't consider them a part of that. But I think of it too. Like I don't like the idea of seeing animals in cages or you can only be indoors. I mean, I have cats, but
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
even with them, I try to like, if they gotta go on a leash, but they gonna go out and touch this grass. They need that too. They need vitamin D just like me. So that's a thing for me. But yeah, I like leave the raccoons alone. But no, I saw a raccoon. I could tell that he was not having a good day. I don't know what was going on, but he just had this look about him that was like, and here I go, being my human self, like, I'm still going to pet you. Like, why am I invading this little man's space? I don't know, but it's the human in me. And he let me for like 5 seconds. And then he looked at me, showed his teeth, didn't like snarl at me or anything, just showed his teeth. And I was like, thank you. Okay.
Okay, that's my sign.
And
I
he
get
slowly
it.
walked away. It was just like he could tell he was having a bad day. And he was being, I think even in that moment, he was showing me kindness by like allowing me to do that because he could have attacked me. But I was definitely overstepping, and I do that sometimes. But yeah, I haven't really run into any animals that have been unkind to me, actually. Same thing with like the plants. You have no idea how friendly nature is to me specifically, and I'm sure to other people, but in my experience, nature has been very kind. Yeah.
Okay. So to kind of circle back to you mentioning this pursuit both from an external and an internal perspective of when it came to your spiritual practices, because you said that you had people that you could kind of talk to, but our own path is our own path, right? But do you find it easy to find community with people who believe in or have the similar practices as you?
I would say, yeah, I think it's easy to find community in that. I don't know if it's easier. This could just be a testament to my character because I'm friendly and also very understanding. So, like, I have really close friends that are Christian. And believe me when I say they try to talk me out of my ways.
Oh, of course.
Daily. And they're doing it out of love, of course. They think that, how I'm living is atrocious. But they love me and they're like, friend, you're going to go to hell if you don't stop this. And, it's annoying, but it's like also I recognize that you're doing this because this is what you truly feel is right and you love me. And I accept that and appreciate it even. As far as finding people who have the same ideology as me, yeah, it's cool. Like you have people who you can commune with and talk to and hang out and do like shared activities with because of it. So I'm gonna say yeah, it's easy, but for me, in my case, I don't know if it's easier because I hang out at the church crowds and blend in just fine. Because and for me, I think that's because I know how to switch my language up. So
You know how to code switch.
yeah, it's the code switching. So I have a good time either way. Hell, I've been with some Muslims and I'm code switching in, and that's not my forte. Like I don't know a whole bunch about Islamic culture or anything like that, but when I listen to them, I'm like, okay, I have something I know relates to that. I just got to figure out your language to let you know where I'm coming from. That way we communicate just fine. It's been plenty of times I was talking to my sister and her husband who are Muslim, and I'm talking about the Bible, but the way I'm wording it is in such a way that they're like, we're just having a conversation, no tension. And when healthy tension arises, then it does, but yeah, I don't have an easier time. I just have an easy time in general.
Okay. And I love how this kind of just came out just so naturally, so organically. You talking about, I know they love me, but they say these things like, I'm going to go to hell if I don't change my ways.
Yeah.
So that's really the premise of conversations like these, because I would like to kind of flip that hierarchy model and not have this my belief is better than your belief. You have to kind of come over to my side. I would love for you to, and I love that you are talking about your experiences and, your beliefs and your practices in an attempt to give more face to it, more voice to it, so that it can get to that platform of this is what I believe. Even if it's in contrast to your beliefs, you don't necessarily get to say that what I'm doing is wrong, even if it's within your construct of your beliefs, because what resonates for you doesn't resonate for me. I've been around it for the same amount of time that you have,
Mm-hmm.
but my path calls me to something different.
Right.
You know, your path doesn't want you to do the same things that I'm doing. That's why you're on your path. I'm not going to judge you for what you're doing. So let's not judge me for what I'm doing, because I believe I deserve the same amount of spiritual fulfillment that you get. If it just happens to be just the Bible, that's fine. But for other people, they need more than that. And I would absolutely love for us to delve a little bit more into that, but I do have to kind of cut it, unfortunately, short for this one. But if we can, would love to have you here again to talk more about this community conversation about our spirituality and religion.
Of course, let's make it a whole thing. Well, and I'm long with it, so we
Oh,
can
no,
go on
no.
and go on and go on.
You're
So,
good. You're
yeah.
good. All right. So where can the fine people of the Miami Valley find you, Miss Cleöcrt?
Hi, Miami Valley. I can be found everywhere at Cleocrt. It'll spell out Cleocourt, which is me. Instagram, Cash App,
Okay, Cash App,
YouTube,
shameless plug.
YouTube. No, really, everywhere. It'll just be under Cleocrt for Cleocourt, which is me. Yeah, and honestly, I look forward to coming back and talking more.
Absolutely, absolutely. And thank you so much for coming. And thank you, Miami Valley, for joining us on this community conversation. I am your host for this session, Michael Pollard. Please visit us at WCSUFM.org. And if you want to find more of my content, you can find me on Instagram at mp.thee.artist. That is empathy artist. And you'll find my link tree with all of my information on there as well. So thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you next time.
Peace.